All right, everyone. So we got another major update in the lawsuit between Palworld and Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. Okay. This is from IGN. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's monster capture patent rejected may signal problems for their Palworld lawsuit. Nintendo has run into another issue during its ongoing legal battle against Pocket Pair's open world survival game, Palworld. As reported by Games Fray, one of Nintendo's patents related to the case has been rejected by the Japan Patent Office, JPO, for its lacking originality. Back in September of 2024, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company officially announced they were filing a patent infringement lawsuit in Japan against Pocket Pair's open world survival game, Palworld. The case involves three main patents granted by the JPO, two related to monster capture and release, and one related to writing characters. These patents were all filed and approved in 2024, but are derived from earlier Nintendo patents dating from 2021. It seems that Nintendo geared these divisional patents to fight specifically against Palworld's alleged infringement of the original. Since then, the case has rumbled on, with Nintendo even rewriting a mount related patent mid lawsuit and arguing that mods should not count as prior art. However, one patent in this family of monster capture patents that Nintendo filed in 2024 has yet to be approved. In October, the JPO pointed out that this patent lacks an inventive step, making a non final decision to reject the application. The office's reasoning for the rejection made reference to older games with similar mechanics that were released even before Nintendo 21's priority date, including Ark, released in 2015, Monster Hunter 4, 2013, and Japanese browser game Katani Collection, also 2013. Ironically, Pocket Pair's Craftopia 2020 and Niantic's Pokemon Go 2016 were among other examples of games that were used to argue that the patent lacks originality. So this is a big deal, right? Because you have this lawsuit between Nintendo and the Pokemon Company against Palworld, and they're trying to build it on top of these patents. One of those, although the article points out it's non-final, is now hitting kind of a brick wall here, right? This is one that they're not being the JPO is not siding with them on. Although this non-binding and non-final decision by the Japan Patent Office to reject the application will not directly impact the lawsuit, it may still influence it, as noted by GameFray. This is because the rejected patent application 2024 0317879 is closely related to the two main monster capture patents JP7505852 and JP7545191 that are being used against Palworld in this case. So they're saying this is not itself going to be impacted, but it might impact the other patents. Therefore, the JPO's decision could cast doubt on the validity of the monster capture patents involved in the lawsuit, strengthening Pocket Pair's position. It could aid the argument that Palworld is not infringing on Nintendo's copyright, rather, Palworld's monster capture mechanics are merely building upon decades of similar systems found in older games made by various developers. As IP consultant Florian Mueller at GamesFray noted, the fact that the patent examiner is now looking at real world games as opposed to just patent documents and articles considerably ups the ante for Nintendo. Earlier this month, former Capcom game developer Yoshiki Okamoto issued comments seemingly against Pocket Pair and Palworld in the legal battle, sparking a backlash from viewers. In a YouTube video posted on his channel on September 27th, Okamoto said Palworld had crossed a line that should not be crossed, and I don't want the world to become a place where this kind of thing is acceptable. Last month, Pocket Pair announced Palworld Pal Farm just a week after Nintendo revealed fellow cozy farming sim Pokemon Pokopia. Pocket Pair announced on September 16th that Palworld would get an official 1.0 release sometime in 2026. Sorry about got a little bit of a cough. All right. So that's the article. All right. And let's break this down a little bit. Now, part of the thing that I think is missed in this whole lawsuit is nobody is for copyright infringement, right? So nobody's like, yes, it's completely great when you just take somebody else's work and completely copy it over, right? You just take it and you copy it over. But I think one of the reasons that Palworld is getting the backing that it's getting from so many fans, and really, I haven't heard too many people on Nintendo's side in this, is due to the fact, very simply, that people are like, Palworld is the best game in the Pokemon type, Pokemon like game we've had in quite some time, right? When you look at the pals, right? There is, of course, a sort of like, oh yeah, those are kind of like Pokemon, right? I get it. But if you play Palworld and you play even the latest game, right, where we did some videos on it, Pokemon Legends Z to A, It's not even close which one is a higher quality game. In fact, Palworld is the game that Pokemon fans wish that they could have. That's the game that Pokemon fans want. Right now, obviously take out kind of the weapon aspect of it, right? I don't think we need guns or anything like that in Pokemon. But can you imagine the type of open world that you get in Palworld, the structure that you get in Palworld, the utilization of your pals for more than just battling, right? They could do so much. And to me, instead of filing these lawsuits, the Pokemon Company, Nintendo should say, we have a brilliant idea. Let's take all of the things that our fans are loving about the Power World game and let's put them into our Pokemon game. Right? You could do the same thing that people point out that Power World is doing to Pokemon, where you take kind of the theme, a lot of the themes, and you build off those themes into a completely different game. The Pokemon Company could do the same thing, have a true open world like that. I mean, one of the beauties of Power World is you get this game where instead of you constantly, being stuck in dialogue, and instead of you constantly having to do this and do this and do this, you just get put onto this island, right? You get put onto the map and you can go anywhere you want at any time. And there's some places you can't go in terms of like because you're level capped, right? So you're going to die quick, but you can still go there. You can still try it out. Imagine playing a true Pokemon game like that. I think it would be fascinating. I think it would be awesome. And it really is a fine line. Like I said, to me, copyright is pretty clear. It's taking something, not changing anything, and putting it out again, right? I understand if that's what Pocket Pair was doing, if that's what Pal World was, if it was truly Pokemon 2.0, right? Or just a Pokemon clone, nobody would be like, yeah, we side with Power World and or we side with Power World in this. It's the fact that Power World is a great game. It's a fun game. It's a game that a lot of us like us Pokemon fans, we would love to have a Pokemon version of Power World, right? And once again, it's not stealing anything. It's not saying, oh, Pokemon Company's just going to steal Power World stuff. It's just looking at the game and going, how can we use that for inspiration for our future games? Look, we I don't want weapons, right, or anything like that in the Pokemon games. But you think about the battle mechanics in Pokemon Legends Z to A, right, where you kind of run around and you could fight these trainers. Why can't that be something? Why can't there be the wild Pokemon running around like we see in Power World in a Pokemon game? I, I I just think that this is why there is so much backlash, against Nintendo and the Pokemon Company on this thing because people just look at like if Power World was a game that stunk, if it was a terrible game, I don't think people would care a whole lot about this lawsuit at all because they'd say, look, you you clearly were taking inspiration from Pokemon and you made something that was terrible, right? It just not that that would make the lawsuit right in any way, but maybe people would be like, okay, this is kind of like a clone, right? But when you take a game and an idea and you use it for inspiration and you make a better version of what that is, and there's nothing in there that's like a complete take, right? You can't go into the game and find a Charmander, right? I mean, you could find fire pals, right? But you can't find a Charmander or a Charizard. Like this is one of the things with these, really, really big companies that I just never fully, I guess, understand. Is to me the path here is so clear, and I understand there are legal things, like even in this, right? One of the reasons that their patent ended up getting non-approved is because there's other games that have had this mechanic, right? So from what I understand, and if you're someone who's more knowledgeable in this, put it in the comments. But from what I can read on this, what that's saying is because those games exist without lawsuit, that might mean that their lawsuit now isn't going to be able to, it's not going to be as strong. Which that maybe would be an argument to Nintendo's lawyers to say, well, we should be suing because if we don't sue, it's going to come back to bite us, right? I get those type of things, but I just don't understand. You just released Pokemon Legends Z to A, and I had fun with that game, but I watched a lot of the critical YouTube videos on it, and I looked at it and I went, you know what? At the end of the day, this isn't as good as Palworld. Okay, Palworld, it has its flaws, but Palworld is the Pokemon experience that I think everybody wants, right? And I don't mean the Pokemon experience in the sense of like, oh yeah, that's it's copying Pokemon. What I mean is we want a Pokemon themed Palworld. I want that, right? Because you think about one of the amazing parts of Palworld is not only is it the open world aspect and so many cool things to see, but it's the fact that when I get a new pal, right? Even if it's not battling, I take them back to my home base and they could be used to help everything else. So, you go get a water Pokemon, I get a water pal, right? You go, but if in a Pokemon game, you go get a water pal, and what happens? You bring them back and they could water your seeds so that you can have food for yourself and for your other pals. You can have them running around. You see them. It's such a perfect world that that's in there. It's such a fun world, right? It's not like in a Pokemon game where okay, I catch a Pokemon and I use it to battle. Cool. I use it to fly or to surf. Cool, I guess, but it's not like in this game when you make the saddle, right? Or you make it so you could get on one of the pals to fly, you get to fly over this expansive area. You get to fly over this massive, massive area. And honestly, I think Pokemon has a chance to do it even better than Palworld because the beauty of even like Pokemon is you have these like in Palworld, at least from what I've played, unless they have some update, but there's no, there's not another trainer you're going up against. How cool would it be to take the Pokemon Legends Z to A battle mechanics and you have to go through these gyms, right? The same way you have to do it, but instead of capping it like they do with dialogue and well you don't have cut yet so you can't go to this area, instead of doing that, just allow us to explore freely. Take the time to build out that game. How awesome would that game be? How awesome would it be to play a game where you could go to any city in the Kanto region, right? Or whatever region it is. You can go to any city you want, but if you try to go into this gym, you're not going to be able to because you don't have powerful enough Pokemon. So it directs you in which way you have to go, but it gives you kind of a go at your own pace. It allows you to freely do things. I just think that would be really, really cool, And so that's kind of where I come down on this whole thing is I think not that this lawsuit, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not giving, any type of real legal analysis on who's going to win this thing, but I think that's where people are most frustrated with this whole thing is that it it's just a situation where Palworld is a really, really good game, right? It's a really, really good game that clearly had a lot of effort put into it. Okay, we could joke about how this pal looks like this Pokemon and the inspiration for it, but the bottom line is that there's nothing about the game. There are so many mechanics in Pal World that don't exist in the Pokemon games. There are so many extra things they added to make that game what it is, and I think that's the most frustrating part of this whole thing. Is that we're looking at it going, please, Nintendo, please, Pokemon Company, make that game with Pokemon. Do you understand how that would sell? If you, and once again, you Pokemon it up, right? It doesn't have to have guns and stuff like that. We don't need that in there, right? It doesn't have to have, I remember there was all the controversy about what the making the pals work and stuff like that. It doesn't have to have like it could be a situation where you just put your Pokemon like imagine if you caught a Charizard and you could have a Charizard cooking food for the rest of the Pokemon the whole time as the guy with the flames, like you can in Pal World, right? Like imagine having that in a Pokemon game. I think that would be super cool. And then you could just keep adding more regions and adding on to it. And there you go. You have the new Pokemon games that I would never stop playing that game. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.